Hello, my name is Ron Quintal. I'm the president of the Fort McKay Métis Nation from Alberta. I'd first and foremost like to thank the veteran for his comments, the elders for their prayers. I'd like to acknowledge that we're on Métis territory, and I'd like to thank the province of Saskatchewan for all of your hospitality in having us here today. I think the big point that I want to make today, and the presentations have been very, very informative, and there's a cause to why we're doing the work that we're doing. So there's a cause to why the debate is ongoing around citizenship and who we are in terms of an identity. And the reason that is because it all translates down to one major thing: a better life for our people. And that's the aspect that all of our leaders have been fighting for. And it's so important that we have a firm understanding of that, because our Métis people, our ancestors, my ancestors, have also fought and died for Métis rights in this country. And from my perspective, if I look back at my ancestors and they saw us today, I know my ancestors would not be disgusted, because the ancestors I come from would want what's best for our people. And that's what we're doing here today. Now, to talk about the translation, the reason that we are looking at this discussion around identity is very clear in terms of how we can take that and equate it down to our everyday Métis individual. And what we mean by that is this: to get our identity right. And the reason why we're having the discussion now and why we've had it in the past, well, now laws have changed. Governments have changed. Policy is being developed. Legislation is being developed to address our rights collectively. And it's so important that in the conversation with the government, that we are able to firm up the credibility to say we know who we are. And that's the biggest debate going on in the room today, is that we're trying to water down who we are. We're trying to water down where we come from. And the fact is this: the clearer the definition of who we are as Métis people, it then calculates down to one thing. And I will never, in my office or in my personal life, criticize a Métis community, a Métis organization, a Métis province for being successful. I'm sorry, but that's the crabs in the bucket mentality, and it does nobody any good. The fact that Manitoba is doing so very well for their people is something for us to aspire to, not to criticize. And the clearer we get the definition, then it translates down to prosperity. Because at the end of the day, as elected leaders, our jobs is one thing: to enhance the quality of life of our people. That's our job as elected leaders, and that's what we fight for every day. I come from a very dysfunctional province right now politically, and the fact is there's major changes and evolutions going on, and that's what we have to be aware of, folks, is what we are going through as a nation is not change, it's not hurting our nation, it's an evolution of what we need to be the best we possibly can, to Riel's vision, to be more Métis than we ever could be, guys. That's what's so critical about this conversation. That's why we need to stand up and take notice and pay very close attention to this, because the more we attempt to water down our identity, it doesn't do anybody any good. And the fact is this: I'm not saying that, and you've heard our speakers say today, we're not saying they're not Indigenous. We're just saying they're not us. And the reason that we're saying they're not us is because our ancestors have fought, our leaders have fought for years. This is my 15th year in politics, and we've been fighting for years to get our rights acknowledged, and we're there. We're finally on the cusp of having our rights recognized and being able to assert those rights so that we as Métis people can take our place alongside the First Nations and the Inuit in this country. Thank you.